Hi everyone, it's Alex from Risk Academy, and in this video I wanted to talk about two types of risk measurement techniques. And there are multiple tools that we use for risk management too, for integration into decision making. And I wanted to kind of separate the tools that we have at our arsenal into two distinct categories. And the category number one are the tools that are useful for making sense of a particular risk. So they're the kind of tools that help you understand the interconnections, the root causes, the reasons, and the consequences, potential consequences, if that risk eventuates. So it's really centered around a risk. There's a risk, and there are a number of reasons why it may occur, and there are a number of reasons there are a number of consequences or scenarios what will happen if it does occur. So this is the first group of tools, and that's where we have the bow tie diagrams. That's where the FAIR cyber risk management methodology comes in. It's a series of techniques that allow us to grasp a better understanding of a specific risk or a type of risk, or an individual risk, and then come up with the better, more effective mitigation strategies for that specific risk or a category of risk. Now that's all good and fine. I mean, those are useful tools, and they're very good for measuring the effect of a particular potential effect of a particular risk, and they're very good at doing cost-benefit analysis to understand which mitigation strategies are more effective than others, and which mitigation strategies are more cost-effective than others. So that's group number one. I mean, useful, good, we have them and we've been using them for years. But I personally much prefer the second group of risk management techniques, and those techniques don't help us understand the intricacies of a specific individual risk. Instead, they help us understand how uncertainty, a number of different uncertain things, will affect the final business result. And this is where, I mean, in my mind, this is a huge differentiation, and a very important point is because sometimes understanding what a specific risk is useful, but most of the time executives couldn't care less. They don't care whether cyber risk is 15 million or 15.5 million potential exposure, or the cyber risk exposure is somewhere in the range between 5 and 10 million. They actually don't care. The only people who care about that are usually the ones responsible for mitigating that particular or ensuring that particular risk. So there is a second group of techniques, and they, instead of dealing with the specific risk, they actually measure effect of uncertainty on something else. And that's where we have the most basic sensitivity analysis, where we actually take a calculated NPV or budget or project time frame or investment proposal, or a decision between option A or B, or decision, go to the cloud or stay on the local servers, any kind of decision, and we're trying to measure the effect uncertainty, and hence risks, will have on that decision, or that KPI, or that objective, or that budget, or that NPV number. And that's where we have sensitivity analysis, scenario analysis. I mean, this is what finance and investment professionals have been doing for decades. They've been running simple scenarios saying, well, if the market doesn't go up as fast as we've anticipated, what if the foreign exchange changes? What if our competitors start a price war, or any other thing you can think of? I mean, those are all examples of specific risks, and we're trying to measure not a single risk, but we're trying to measure the whole effect of uncertainty, the effect of whole uncertainty, or on decision making. And so this second group, I mean, this is where we have sensitivity scenarios. This is where we have simulations, and that's where we use, for example, monte-carlo simulations to measure and to simulate how uncertainty will affect different objectives. So in my mind, that second group is much more useful for communication with the business. I mean, if we are communicating with other risk professionals and you're discussing something with an insurance provider, or you're talking to other risk experts about something specific related to that specific risk, then of course first type of instruments is good enough. But if you're really talking to CFOs, CEOs, board members, or literally any other executives, you really want to start thinking about applying the second type of techniques or tools that allow you, instead of talking about risk, you can actually come to the conversation and say, well, you're proposing a project which has a positive NPV to 20 million, seems fine. We've actually run the simulation, and based on our risk analysis, the likely 90 or 95% confidence interval, the likely range of NPV is actually -20 to 5. So most of the simulations that we have run actually show that this is not a good project unless we change A, B, and C, and that's where we have turned out a diagram to indicate what are some of the key risks. But it's a much more fruitful and useful conversation to have with executives, where you're saying, well, this budget can be better if you do X, Y, and Z, or this project has a higher chance of success if you do X, Y, and Z, and so on. Or you can just say outright, I mean, this project is so risky, there's literally no chance it will be a successful project unless you fundamentally review the whole strategy or review the whole proposal. So that's a much better conversation to have with executives. So my suggestion to the risk community is mix your existing tools that you have been using forever, the tools that generate a range or a number for a risk. Add to that, improve on that with the set of tools that instead recalculate the business objective or decision or KPI using risk management. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts. Do share underneath this video, and don't forget to subscribe to Risk Academy channel on YouTube. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.